I make actually I make telephone call around once a week. I usually talk to my friend because she is living in Vietnam, so um, we talk a lot on phone because it's hard for us to see each other face to face, and that's why we always talk on the phone. My friend, I would say with my friend because I live with my parents and my brother, and so we usually talk to each other in our house. But it's hard for me to talk to my friend in face because everybody works now, so we usually talk on the phone. Maybe this weekend. It's been a long time I never talk chat with my friend who's living in Vietnam. So probably this weekend we will have um, a conversation. Yes, I would say I prefer texting message because texting message we um, I can text message whenever I'm free, but if I want to talk to others, it should be when both of us have time. And sometimes it's a little hard for us to both have time because we live in different countries, or sometimes people have work, so we usually text to each other. Okay. There are a lot of journeys that I have taken with um, most of them are with my family, and there's one that I remember the most, and it was it happened a few years ago. Me and my family went to Lithuania. It's a European country, and actually that was the first time I've been to Lithuania, Europe, and the thing that made me remember the most and impressed me the most is it took us totally 24 hours to from Taiwan to Lithuania, and actually that during that period there were a lot of accidents about airplane crashed or some mm, bad news about airplane. So actually I was pretty nervous, and the reason why we went to Lithuania is to visit our friends we met in Taiwan. They are local Lithuanians. Um, I think it's a really beautiful country. Um, there have a lot of castles and cathedrals, which I couldn't see in Taiwan. People there are all really kind and friendly. So although the plan gave me some uh, nervous experience, I would say this is the most that was the most nervous mm, taking plan experience for me. Although I okay, okay. Mm, I would say there are a lot of reasons. Um, One of the reasons is maybe it's because of their work. They have to work perhaps in other cities, even other countries. So for them, travel to work is their everyday routines. Um, Another reason could be the study. For example, in Taiwan, a lot of students who don't really study in the school in their neighbor or the city they lived, so they have to travel every day. Mm, I'm not sure in other countries, but in Taiwan, perhaps that there are too many cars, especially in peak hours. So sometimes the traffic the traffic jam will make people may those people who works or travel who study in other cities could be late to their companies or schools. And I would say this is the most frequently hap the problem is the most frequently they will face. I'm sorry, could you repeat again? Um, I think personally, I think yes, to some extent. Um, because technology nowadays improves a lot. So probably for in the future, people will not suffer from heavy traffic jam like now. Maybe there or there could be some advanced vehicles or some other approaches to for people to go to school or to their companies, and at in the years ahead, maybe people do not really have to um, wait that long time to go to the places that they want to go. Um, I believe that in the future, the cars or some other vehicles could be faster, or the road. Perhaps the government could have some um, methods to help the environment to be better for communicating. So that's why I think in the future we don't really have to wait that long of time. To, excuse me, is to land. Well, I think yes, people could learn a lot from traveling to other countries. Um, there are also a variety of reasons. For example, mm, from my personal experience, I've been to some countries and the things that I learned a lot is about culture. I don't think what we study in school, although they teach us a lot of um, things or information about other countries, but it I don't really understand that until I really been to that country. It's actually totally different from what I learned from the book. For example, the way they live is really different from what I saw and heard from other people or from books. So I would say travel to other places could learn really a lot, not just mm, it's more than just reading from the book. Mm, yes, um, but I think it's about Um, Actually, I don't really think about this kind of issue a lot, but mm, travel around and maybe to other places can help our economy. Um, for example, if we if people been to a lot of places, maybe they could learn some knowledge or information that couldn't be get from where they live or where they are. So, oh yes, I believe that could help the place economy. But on the other side, if too many people visit the place or the country a lot, it could be some it could have some detrimental effect. For example, a lot of garbage they will produce, or even people visit the country maybe could help the economy, but I think it just help the maybe stores or shops, but to the local people who don't run this kind of business, I don't think they can really have some. They could be influenced positive um, to, if people travel in their country.
Okay, so here we're going to listen to a pretty much complete test. Part 1 just has one topic, but part 2 and part 3 are pretty much complete. So let's have a listen. The topic of making calls, and the first question is, how often do you make telephone calls?
I make actually I make telephone call around once a week. I usually talk to my friend because she is living in Vietnam, so we talk a lot on phone because it's hard for us to see each other face to face, and that's why we always talk on phone.
All right, so maybe you notice, or I don't know, maybe you didn't notice, but the sentence you used was pretty long, starting from, I usually talk to my friend around once a week. Oh no, not that sentence, next one. I usually talk to my friend because she's living in Vietnam. So we talk a lot on the phone, it should be. But anyway, because it's hard for us to see each other face to face, that's why we talk on the phone. So the sentence is pretty long. There are mistakes in the sentence, but the mistakes don't make it impossible to understand what she's saying. It makes it a little bit more difficult, but we still understand what she says. Now for the language, I don't know why this is singular. It should be telephone calls. I talked to my friend because she's living in Vietnam. I think it should just be since she's living in Vietnam, we talk a lot on the phone. And here at the end she did say the phone, but previously she just said phone. Alright, let's move on. Who do you spend most time talking to on the phone?
My friend, I would say with my friend because I live with my parents and my brother, and so we usually talk to each other in our house. But it's hard for me to talk to my friend in face because everybody works now, so we usually talk on the phone.
Okay, so previously she said face to face, but now she's saying in face. I don't know why. There's a little bit less hesitation. I think there are maybe somewhat fewer ums in the sentence, or in this answer rather. And no self-correction really. So the first answer wasn't really very fluent. Second one, a little bit better. Here's the next question. When do you think you'll next make a phone call? It's kind of a weird question, but you know, there are always weird questions.
Maybe this weekend. It's been a long time that I never chat with my friend who is living in Vietnam. So probably this weekend we will have a conversation.
Okay, two things I like. I'm just going to replay this here.
Maybe this weekend.
Notice that rise, maybe this weekend. And right at the end, if I can just come back there.
A conversation.
The conversation. Okay, so she's not sure, and a rising intonation in English is used to show uncertainty. So she uses some intonation in her answer. The self-correction here. A long time that I never chat with my friend who's living in Vietnam makes it a little bit difficult to understand, but not that terrible. Next question. Do you sometimes prefer to send a text message instead of telephoning?
Yes, I would say I prefer texting message. Because texting message.
Okay, so here she said texting message twice. It should be text messages. So I prefer, let's go back to that. I prefer text messages, or I prefer sending texts.
I can text message whenever I'm
I can text.
free, but if I want to talk to others, it should be when both of us have time. And sometimes it's a little hard for us to both have time because we live in different countries, or sometimes people have work, so we usually text to each other.
Okay, just here, text to each other. It should just be text each other. The same if the verb is call each other, not call to each other. Okay, here we get to part 2. The prompt is describe a journey that you remember well, and here we have our cues. Let's have a listen to the response.
Okay. There are a lot of journeys that I have taken with, most of them are with my family, and there's one that I remember the most, and it happened a few years ago.
Okay, I kind of like the idea of this introduction. So she starts off in the general. There are a lot of journeys that I've taken with my family, and there's one specific journey that I want to talk about today. So the idea of this introduction is pretty good. She just doesn't pull it off very well. There's some disfluency there, but the idea is good.
It happened a few years ago. Me and my family
and I.
went to Lithuania.
This unfortunately is the adjective. The noun is Lithuania.
It's a European country. Actually, that was the first time I've been to Lithuania.
So remember, for completed actions in the past, we use the past tense, not the present perfect tense.
Europe. And the thing that made me remember the most and impressed me the most is it took us totally 24 hours to from Taiwan to Lithuania, and
it took us 24 hours to where's the verb? Travel? Fly?
actually that during that period there were a lot of accidents about airplane crashed or
Okay, so why don't we just say there were a lot of airplane crashes?
or some bad news about airplanes. So actually, I was pretty nervous, and the reason why we went to Lithuania
Okay, so she talks about this. She introduces this cue by saying, and the reason why.
is to visit our friends.
But then she uses the present tense. So the reason why I went to Lithuania was to.
We met in Taiwan. They are local Lithuanians.
Here she uses the adjective correctly.
I think it's a really beautiful country.
So here using the present tense is okay because maybe that's still her opinion right now.
They have a lot of castles and cathedrals.
Okay, two things. One good, one not so good. The use of the word cathedrals, I think, is good. Good vocabulary item to use. But there have a lot of. This is such a basic mistake to make. There are a lot of.
Which I couldn't see in Taiwan.
A lot of self-correction.
People there are all really kind and friendly. So although the plan gave me some nervous experience.
Okay, now I'm not sure what the plan is. Is the plan the journey? Is the plan the visit? The plane ride? I'm not sure. Okay, but whatever. Okay, so the plane made me nervous. If you really want to use the word experience, maybe you could say the plan made for a nervous experience. But you cannot say gave me a nervous experience. You can say it was a nervous experience or it made for a nervous experience.
I would say that was the most nervous.
Actually, let's go back to that. Maybe we should say a nerve-wracking experience because it wrecks your nerves. I think nerve-wracking might be a much better way of saying that.
Experience. I would say that was the most nervous taking plane experience for
Taking plane experience. Why don't we say flying experience?
me. Although
Okay, and she got stopped there. If I look at the time, it looks like it's about 2 minutes. Okay, so you had to describe a journey. So obviously past tense. You're going to have to use the past tense accurately. Where you went, how you traveled, why you went on the journey. And when reflecting, you're going to be using the present tense, which she did. So she didn't always control the usage of the past tense very well. Vocabulary was kind of basic. There was a lot of self-correction there. Let's move on to part 3. Okay, so here we get to part 3 of the test, which in many ways is the make or break part of the test. And the first topic, reasons for daily travel. Why do people need to travel every day?
I would say there are a lot of reasons. One of the reasons maybe it's because of their work. They have to work perhaps in other cities, even other countries. So for them, travel to work is their everyday routines. Another reason could be the study. For example, in Taiwan, a lot of students who don't really study in the school in their neighbor or the city they lived.
Okay, let's see here. The self-correction again. Who doesn't? Who don't really study in the school. Either you study at a school or you don't. I don't know how you can not really study somewhere. I think she's confusing neighborhood and neighbor. I don't know why there's an S there. Okay, so I think what she's saying is students who don't study in their local neighborhood schools need to commute to schools in other cities or need to commute to schools in other neighborhoods. And the same for people who work, I guess. All right. Now, if you get a question about daily travel, a word that you're probably going to want to use is commute. So there are a lot of reasons, but she really just mentioned one. Okay, that's not such a big deal. So some people need to commute to work, and some students need to commute to school. That's basically what she's trying to say. Her answer was just a little bit hard to follow. What problems can people have when they're on their daily journey, for example, to work or school?
I'm not sure in other countries,
Maybe we should say I'm not sure about other countries.
but in Taiwan, perhaps that there are too many cars, especially in peak hours. So sometimes the traffic jam will make.
Unfortunately, she mixes up the countable and uncountable nouns. Traffic is not countable, so there's no S, but traffic jams are countable, so there should be traffic jams. Make.
Will make people, may those people who works or
People who works.
travel, who study in other cities, could be late to their companies or schools. And I would say this is the most frequently the problem is the most frequently they will face.
All right, so here at the end, it seems to me she's using a word she's not entirely familiar with. Frequently. Frequently is an adverb and should be used with a verb. Now, the first time she uses it with, it seems problem. Problem is a noun, so if we're going to use frequently with problem, it should be frequent problem. If you're going to use frequently with the verb face, that's okay. So we could say that is the problem they most frequently face. So adverbs with verbs. Some people say that daily journeys like these will not be so common in the future. Do you agree or disagree? All right, so here's an example of a question where you can actually say, yes, I agree, or no, I disagree, because that is what you're being asked.
I'm sorry, could you repeat again?
But then we have this. If you're going to say repeat, you don't need the word again. So I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Or I'm sorry, could you say the question again? But repeat and again don't go together.
I think, personally, I think yes, to some extent.
But to some extent is good. If you don't completely embrace an idea, you can use to some extent.
Because technology nowadays improves a lot. So,
all right, if you're going to be talking about things that are changing right now, let's use the present continuous tense. So technology is improving a lot nowadays.
so probably for in the future, people will not suffer from heavy traffic jam.
Now, if you're talking about the future and you talk about things that you think are going to happen, the modal is will, not would. So people won't suffer from heavy traffic jams.
Like now, maybe there could be some advanced vehicles
Advanced. The adjective is advanced.
or some other approaches for people to go to school or to their companies. And
See, she's using a lot of vocabulary she used in the previous question, like this part about going to school, going to their companies. And actually, if you say to their companies, do you mean to work, or do you mean that these people actually own these companies?
in the years ahead, maybe people do not really have to wait that long time to go to the places that they want to go.
Okay, in the years ahead, I do like that part. People don't really have to wait. People won't. Future tense. So the commute is not going to be so long in the future if we have some advanced vehicles. Now, follow-up question. What kind of advanced vehicles are you talking about?
I believe that in the future, the cars or some other vehicles could be faster, or the road, perhaps the government could have some methods to help the environment to be better for communicating.
Now, what is happening here? She starts off by talking about the vehicles. So the vehicles could be faster. All right, that's an idea. She doesn't really develop the idea, but it's an idea. Then she jumps to or the road, but she doesn't say anything about the road. It's just or the road. Perhaps this government could have some methods to help the environment to be better for communicating. And then she goes to communication. So she jumps from one topic to another, and she doesn't really explain any of them very well.
To be better for communicating. So that's why I think in the future we don't really have to wait that long of time.
Wait that long of time. Just wait that long.
Wait that long of time.
Wait that long. Okay, next topic, the benefits of international travel. What can people learn from traveling to other countries?
Excuse me, it's to land.
Okay, so she misheard learn. She heard learn as land. So the question is repeated. Let's get to the response.
Well, I think yes. People could learn a lot from traveling to other countries.
So no, this is a problem. I think yes. The question is, what can people learn? And then you answer yes.
I think yes. People could learn a lot from traveling to other countries. There are also a variety of reasons. For example, from my personal experience, I've been to some countries, and the things that I learned a lot is about culture.
Okay, let's just go back to what you said here. Okay, so we can learn a lot. And there are some reasons why we can learn a lot. But then she doesn't go on to give reasons why we can learn. She goes on to talk about what we can learn. So you can learn about culture. But that's not a reason. That's not a reason for learning. That's just what you learn. The other thing is she goes to personal experience straight away. In part 3 of the test, it's fine to use your personal experience as support for your ideas. But first, you need to approach your answers from a more objective, more general perspective, and then you can go to personal support.
Personal experience, I've been to some countries, and the things that I learned a lot is about culture. I don't think what we study in school, although they teach us a lot of things or information about.
Okay, so this is again just this fluent speech. I don't think what we study in school, and then she doesn't finish that idea, although they teach us a lot of things or information about other countries. So the pieces of language just don't fit together very well.
But I don't really understand that.
She's talking about the past, and it should be didn't. I didn't really understand that.
Until I really been to that country.
Okay, and she used the past participle again. Until I went to that country. And this should be was.
is actually totally different from what I learned from the book. For example,
Why is it just one book?
the way they live is really different from what I saw and heard from other people or from books. So I would say travel to other places could learn really a lot.
This reminds me a lot of Chinese grammar. Travel to other places could learn really a lot. Now, traveling cannot learn. Oh, and also this should be a noun. So traveling to other places could teach us really a lot, or we can learn a lot by traveling to other places. But we cannot say that travel learns anything. In English, that doesn't make sense.
Not just it's more than just reading from the book.
And then we go back to the singular book. Okay, next question. Can travel make a positive difference to the economy of a country?
Yes. But I think it's about
Long pause here.
actually I don't really think about this kind of issue a lot.
All right, so if you find a question difficult, go ahead and say, hey, this is a hard question. There's nothing wrong with that.
But travel around and maybe to other places can help our economy.
Okay, again, this should be a noun. So, traveling can help the economy. That's got to be a noun.
Help our economy. For example, if people been to a lot of
If people, and then she uses the past participle again. So if people go to a lot of places, what's going to happen? They could, well, if you think it's not very likely, you can say could. If you think it's more likely, you can say can. And then she goes back to knowledge or information. I feel like she's used this quite a few times already.
knowledge or information that couldn't be get from where they live or where they are. So
Couldn't be, where is that now? Okay, so here she uses the passive, which is not bad, but she messes up the grammar a little bit. So this knowledge or information couldn't be, and then she uses the present tense. It should be the past participle. Couldn't be gotten from where they live. And she mispronounces live twice, I think. And she got cut off here. Okay, last question. Okay, this is the tricky one. Do you think a society can benefit if its members have experience of traveling to other countries? Maybe there should be have the experience, but this is the way I got the question.
oh yes, I believe that could help the place economy, but
The place economy. The place's economy. But on the other side, I think what she was going for here is, but on the other hand, not the other side.
me. But on the other side, if too many people visit the place or the country a lot, it could have some detrimental effect. For example,
I do like the detrimental effect. That's a good phrase to use.
a lot of garbage they will produce.
It's a lot of garbage that will produce. That will produce a lot of garbage.
Or even people visit the country maybe could help the economy.
Okay, so again here, so people visit. What? I forgot what she said. What? Oh, people visiting. So people visiting the country could help the economy. People visiting could help the economy.
Visit the country maybe could help the economy, but I think it just helped the maybe stores.
I don't know if I misheard her. I don't know if this is. Maybe she said help. But anyway, the subject is it. It just helps. Maybe I misheard now that I listen to this again. Maybe this is not help, but it should still be helps.
Help the maybe stores or shops, but to the local people who don't run this kind of business.
I do like the run. So she knows that run collocates with business. These two words are often used together.
I don't think they can really have some. They could be influenced positive.
They could be positively influenced.
If people travel in their country.
Okay, so let's have a look at what the speaking band descriptors say about what we just heard. Let's look at the fluency and coherence band 6. Let's start with the second criteria. Uses a range of connectives and discourse markers, but not always appropriately. I think yes, check. Is willing to speak at length. Yes. May lose coherence at times due to occasional repetition, self-correction, or hesitation. No, I think it was more often than just occasional repetition, or occasional self-correction, or occasional hesitation. So no, it doesn't qualify for a 6. Let's look at the band 5 for fluency and coherence. Let's look at the last criterion here. Produces simple speech fluently, but more complex communication causes fluency problems. Yes, we definitely did see that. Let's look at the lexical resource, band 6. Generally paraphrases... Let me try that again. Generally paraphrases successfully. Well, no, we didn't always see that. Has a wide enough vocabulary to discuss topics at length. No. And make meaning clear in spite of inappropriacies. The meaning wasn't always clear. Let's have a look at some examples here. The vocabulary is quite basic, and often we have had things like texting message. And if I look at this, there's nothing that really stands out vocabulary-wise. If we move on to part 2, journeys is a word that is used that's okay. This is not bad, but she uses the wrong form. A lot of accidents about airplanes crashed. See, this is a paraphrasing that doesn't go well for her. Cathedrals. This is an example of a lexical item maybe suited to band 7, but this is the only one she used. See, what I mean by paraphrasing gave me some nervous experience. This is not a phrase that is standard English. I was the most nervous taking. This is not successful paraphrasing. If you move on to part 3, traffics. There's just no vocabulary that really stands out. Everything is pretty basic vocabulary wise. Maybe approaches is somewhat higher level, but not really. No, it's just all fairly basic vocabulary. Now for grammar, here's the band 6. Uses a mix of simple and complex structures, but with limited flexibility. Yeah. May make frequent mistakes with complex structures. Yeah, we saw that too. although these rarely cause comprehension problems. Yeah, yes, but it's close. Here's pronunciation. Band 6 uses a range of pronunciation features with mixed control. Yeah, we saw good word stress. There wasn't a lot of sentence stress. There was some intonation, some chunking. The rhythm was generally good. Can generally be understood throughout, though mispronunciation of individual words or sounds reduces clarity at times. Yeah, like for example, that live and leave, and frequently and frequently. So probably this band here.